There is a cave mouth in the side of a limestone ridge, and there is a man walking toward it through blowing snow with the last of the daylight going gray behind him. And he is grateful. You can see it in how his shoulders come down off his ears. He has been out in that wind for 9 hours, and there in front of him is a hole in the rock with a dry floor and a roof that no storm on God's earth can tear off. He goes in. He gets his fire going back in the throat of it, back where the wind cannot reach the flames. He gets his boots off. He lies down warm for the first time in a week, and in the morning he is still lying there. Now I want to be plain with you before we go one step further, because this is the part that turns a man's stomach. That cave did not fall on him. There was no bear in it, no snake, no wolf came out of the dark. He was not cold. That is the piece everybody gets wrong. He was warm when he died, warm and dry and out of the wind in the best shelter he had seen in a month. And the rock itself killed him while he slept, and it never once had to touch him. Here is my claim, and I want you to sit with it before you decide I am telling you a tale. A cave is the most dangerous shelter in this country, and it is dangerous precisely because it is so good. Everything you can see about it is right. Everything that kills you in it is a thing you cannot see. The lean-to that leaks, the pile of brush that sags, the hollow under a deadfall a man is half ashamed of. Those sorry, poor man shelters have carried more people through to morning than every fine, dry cave in these mountains put together. And I am going to show you why. The fix costs nothing. Not $1, not a dime. It is a candle stub, an armload of boughs, and about 10 minutes of doing a thing that will feel completely foolish while you are doing it. That is the whole price. A man who knows it can sleep in a cave and walk out in the spring. A man who does not knows only that he found a fine, dry roof, and it is the last thought he ever has. So stay with me, because I am going to hand you the whole of it. But let me ask you one thing early so I do not have to interrupt us later. If you want more of these, the old ways, the things that kept people alive when there was no store to drive to and no help to call, then hit that subscribe button and tap the like, and mind you turn on the bell so it tells you when the next one comes. That is the whole cost of everything I am about to give you. Now, let us get to it. Let me tell you who I am so you know I am not reading this off a card. I have run a trap line. I have wintered alone in country where the nearest other living soul sat 2 days' hard walk down a frozen river. And more than one night my life hung on, whether I built my camp right or built it wrong. I did not learn this out of any book. I learned it off old hands who learned it off older hands, and the men who taught me did not have a theory about caves. They had names. They had friends they did not see come out in the spring. That is the only ink the wilderness respects, and it is the only reason any of this survived to reach me at all. And the first thing they hammered into me is the thing near everybody has flat backward today. It is this notion that a shelter you did not have to build is a shelter you can trust. That the sturdier the roof, the safer the man under it. Picture that cave. Dry floor. Stone walls a foot thick. A ceiling that has stood there since before your great-grandfather's great-grandfather drew breath. Now, picture a bark lean-to with the wind whistling through every seam. Ask any man alive which one he would rather be in tonight, and he will pick the cave without a breath of hesitation. And he will be picking wrong. Hold tight to this next part, because it is the whole spine of the story. The men who died in caves were not the careless men. They were not the fools, and they were not the green ones. By most accounts, they were the good woodsmen, the ones who could read the country, who knew a good shelter when they saw one, who did the smart thing and got in out of the weather and got a fire going and did every single thing right. Their skill is what walked them into it. I am going to show you exactly how a man's competence kills him, but not yet. Keep it in the back of your mind because it matters more than any trick I hand you today. Before any of it makes sense, you have to understand what a cave actually is. And here is where most folks go wrong at the very first look. So lean in close, because if this piece does not land, nothing else I tell you will keep you alive down deep. You look at a cave and you see a room, 3 walls and a roof and a doorway. That is what your eye tells you, and your eye is lying to you. A cave is not a room. A cave is a bowl. It is a low place in the rock, and the country all around it drains into it the way a valley drains into a river. And what drains into it is not water. It is air. Cold air is heavy air. It is heavier than the warm air you breathe out, and it runs downhill exactly like water runs downhill, and it pools in the low places, and it sits. It does not blow out. There is no wind in a cave. That is the very thing you liked about it. That stillness you were so grateful for when you stepped in out of the roar of the storm. That stillness means one thing and one thing only. It means nothing that goes into that air ever leaves it. Now here is the second thing, and it is worse. Rock is not a wall. Rock is a cold sink the size of the mountain. A wall of canvas or brush has a back to it, and the back of it is the outside, and the cold out there can only reach so far in. But the back of a stone wall is more stone, and behind that is more, and it runs down into the dark of the earth 1,000 feet, and every ounce of heat you throw at it goes straight in and never comes back out. You cannot warm a cave. Men have tried. The mountain wins every time, and it does not even have to try. So take those 2 things together. A bowl that holds still, dead air, and a wall made of the whole cold weight of the world, and into that bowl a tired, grateful, frozen man walks with wood on his back, and he builds a fire. Now let me give you the method, the way the old hands actually did it. And I am going to pair every step with its reason, because a rule you do not understand is a rule you will break on the first cold night you are too tired to remember it. The first thing, and the biggest thing, is that you do not sleep in the back of a cave. Ever. You sleep at the mouth of it, or just outside it, under the overhang. And I know how that sounds. It sounds like a man throwing away the best part of a gift. The back is the warm part. The back is the dry part. The back is where you feel safe. And the back is the bottom of the bowl, and the bottom of the bowl is where the bad air gathers, and where the cold pools, and where a man lies down and never gets up. So you stay shallow. You give up the comfort of the deep end, and you take the mouth, where the air still remembers how to move. The second thing is that your fire lives outside, at the lip or beyond it, never behind you and never above you. And you build a reflector wall behind that fire, green logs stacked an arm high, or flat stones set on edge. So the heat that would have gone off warming the empty woods comes bouncing back across the flames and into the mouth of that cave where you are lying. Why? Because heat will come to you all on its own. Heat crosses open space and lands on your skin, whether the fire is 3 feet off or 6. But the invisible thing a fire makes, the thing that kills, that has to be carried out on moving air. And there is no moving air in the back of a cave, so you invite the warmth in, and you leave the poison out in the open where it belongs. The third thing is that stone floor. And I want to be clear on this one, because folks hear it and nod and then lie down on the rock anyway. That floor will drink you dry. It is the coldest thing you will touch all day, and it does not sting, and it does not warn you, and it will pull the heat out of your back all night long, and never once get full. So you clear your spot, and you build a bed on it. Spruce boughs laid crosswise, or dry leaves, or grass, or bark. A hand span thick at the very least, deep enough that it springs back under your palm, because it is not the branches keeping you warm, it is the still air trapped between them. And you do that before anything else, before the fire, before you get comfortable, because the floor is the thing that will kill you quietest, And the fourth thing is the candle, and this is the one that will feel foolish, and it is the one I would not walk into any cave without. You take a stub of candle, or a strip of birch bark, or a rag on a stick, and you light it, and you carry it in ahead of you, low to the ground, before you unpack a single thing. And you watch that flame. If it burns tall and straight and clean, the air in there is air a man can live on. But if it guts down and goes small and blue and lazy, if it looks sick, if it will not hold, then that cave has bad air pooled in the bottom of it, and you turn around and you walk out and you sleep in the storm instead, and you will not like doing it, and you will do it anyway. Because the flame will know before you know, and by the time you know, you will not be in any condition to do a thing about it. Pair each of those with its reason, and you will never forget the step. Sleep shallow, because the deep end is a bowl. Fire outside, because the bad air has nowhere to go. Bed on the floor, because the rock is a thief. Test the air with a flame, because your own body cannot. That is the whole system, and every piece of it is free. Now, if this is landing for you, if this is the kind of knowing you want more of, do me the one favor I ask. Subscribe, hit that like, and turn the bell on so you do not miss what comes next. It costs you nothing, and it keeps this old knowledge moving. Here is the why beneath all of it, and I am going to give it to you plain, the way an old man gave it to me, with no big words and no lecture. When a fire burns clean and hot with all the air it wants, what comes off it is mostly harmless. But choke that fire, close it in, starve it of air, let it settle down to a sullen smolder, the way every fire on earth does in the dead of night when a man is asleep and not feeding it. And it starts making something else, an invisible gas, no color, no smell, nothing to warn you. And out in an open camp it drifts off into the woods and does you no harm at all. But in the bottom of a stone bowl with no wind, it does not drift anywhere. It stays. It fills that bowl from the floor up, slow and quiet, the way water fills a bucket. And your face is down at the floor because you are lying down. You are sleeping in the bottom of the bucket. And here is the cruel piece of it. That gas gets into your blood, and your blood has only so many seats in it for carrying the good air that keeps you alive, and that gas shoves its way into those seats, and it will not get up, and it will not let the good air sit down. So a man lies there with a chest full of air, breathing slow and easy, and starves for air all the same. The air is going in, his blood has no room left to carry it. That is why he does not cough. That is why he does not wake gasping and crawl for the door. The gas does not choke him like a hand at the throat. It makes him warm and heavy and pleasantly sleepy. It pulls him down softer into the sleep he is already in. And a tired, cold, half-frozen man welcomes that feeling like an old friend, right up until it is the last thing he ever feels. And a dying, smoldering fire is more dangerous than a roaring one. Remember that. The little quiet fire you think is safe because it has gone soft is the very one filling that cave while you dream. And there is one more thing in some of them, older than any fire. In the deep, low places of certain caves, the air is bad all on its own, and always has been before you ever struck a match. It gathers there, and it lies there, and it has been lying there since before any of us. A man walks down into it, and he does not smell a thing. And he goes light in the head, and he sits down just a moment to gather himself, and he never stands up again. That is what the candle is for. That is why you send a flame in ahead of your face. Now circle back to what I told you to hold on to. That riddle of how a good man's skill kills him. Here is the answer laid out plain. The poor man, the one with no eye for country, does not find the cave. He would not trust the dark of it if he did. So he does the sorry, humble thing. He throws up a leaky lean-to against a deadfall, and he curses it half the night, and the wind worries at every seam, and snow sifts in on his boots, and he sleeps badly and wakes up stiff and grumbling and cold. And alive. Alive because his miserable shelter was breathing. Every gap, every leak, every seam he was too tired to fix was carrying the killer out as fast as his sad little fire could make it. The good man finds the cave. He reads the ridge right, and he is rewarded for it. He gets in deep where it is dry and still. He builds a proper fire back out of the wind. He does every single thing his skill tells him to do. And his skill has walked him into the bottom of a stone bowl with no way out for the air. He seals himself in with his own competence, and he dies comfortable and proud in the finest shelter he found all winter. The storm kills the careless. The cave kills the capable, and that is the part nobody tells you. Now you are likely asking why nobody ever did tell you. The answer is the quiet kind, and it is about money and not about mystery. There is no fortune in a candle stub. There is no fortune in telling a man to walk back out into the snow and sleep worse on purpose. There is a great fortune in selling him a tent and a heater and a canister that hisses empty in a night, and a little blue flame he sets by his boots inside a sealed nylon room, which is the same stone bowl in a different coat. Every winter people die that way, and they are not all old trappers. They are campers and hunters, and folks just trying to get warm in a storm. A thing that costs nothing and never breaks and never runs out is a thing nobody in the business of selling has any reason to put in front of you. It is not a plot, and it is not a cover-up. The free knowledge just never learned how to advertise, and the expensive answer can afford to shout. And that is why I ask what I ask. Subscribe. Hit the like. Turn that bell on. Because the only way this old free knowing keeps moving is if folks like you carry it. Now let me be straight with you, because I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. And there are two things I will not let you walk away believing. The first is that all caves are death. They are not. People have wintered under rock for 10,000 years and done fine. And they did fine by staying shallow and keeping the flame outside and letting the air move. It is not the stone. It is the stillness. Know the difference. And a cave is a gift. The second is that this is coming for you. It probably is not. You are not going to die in a limestone hole this winter, but a sealed tent with a little heater in it is the same bowl. A truck cab with the windows up is the same bowl. And every man it ever came for thought that exact same thing, right up until the moment it had him. And I will tell you the cheap modern thing too, because honesty cuts both ways, and I am not so proud of the old ways that I would let one kill you to make my point. A little battery carbon monoxide alarm runs you $20, maybe $30. I carry one. The old rule keeps you alive, and the little alarm catches you on the night you got careless. A wise man uses both. So here is the whole of it, small enough to carry and free as the snow on the ground. Sleep at the mouth, never the back. Keep the fire outside and let a reflector wall bring the warmth into you. Build your bed up off that stone floor before you do one other thing. And send a flame in ahead of you, and believe what it tells you, even when you do not want to. And maybe that is the real lesson. The one bigger than caves and bigger than winter. Those men did not die because the mountain was cruel. The mountain was only ever just the mountain. They died because they were certain that a good roof meant a safe night, certain that warm meant alive, certain they already knew the one thing they did not know at all. The wilderness never kills the humble man half as fast as it kills the sure one, and the old hands feared their own certainty more than they ever feared the cold. That is the thing I would hand you ahead of any trick. Now I want to hear from you, and I mean it. Tell me down in the comments about a place you slept that felt safe and was not. A cabin, a cellar, a cave, a tent, a truck. Because half of what I know I learned off somebody else's grandfather, and I would be a fool to think I have heard them all. And if this was worth your time, then subscribe and hit that like and turn on the notification bell, because there is another one coming, and it is a strange one. Next time I am going to tell you about water. Water that ran cold and clear off the high country, and looked like the finest thing a thirsty man ever saw, and laid strong men flat on their backs for a week and worse. The old hands had a way to read that stream before they ever filled a cup, and it was not the smell and it was not the look. I will show you what it was. Until then, keep your fire honest, keep your air moving, and never trust a roof you did not have to earn.